Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli, and today we are going to play the biggest meetup poker game in history at the Hustler. We're expecting over 400 players. This game is going to be bananas. So the Hustler is putting this on, and they do an incredible job. Shout out to Billy DJF for putting this on, promoting it, getting all the influencers behind it. And it's gonna be madness. There is a 2-3 meetup game with a $500 buy-in. A lot of the rake goes to charity as well, so very cool. All the crew is gonna be there, so I'm super excited for this meetup game. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Alec Torelli. On this YouTube, I'm a poker player and coach, published author. I wrote a book called The Poker Coach, and on this YouTube, I help you take your game to the next level with awesome strategy content, poker vlogs from some of the high-stakes games I play around the world, and hand breakdowns as well as content for the mental game and help you turn poker into a business. So subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Alec Torelli. Put out a lot of content there to help you on a daily basis on poker as well. And finally at consciouspoker.com, we have a newsletter that goes out every Monday. It's called Crush Mondays. It's totally free. Poker tips, hand breakdowns, sneak peek at new content, as well as a chance to buy a piece of me, not in these meetup games, but in the high stakes hustler games that you see on the stream every week at no markup. It's exclusively for fans and subscribers. So that's all free at consciouspoker.com as well. We have some awesome content there as well to help you take your game to the next level. So for this meetup game, I'm super pumped, and let's go. So one thing to note about the meetup game, the influencer, celebrity pros, whatever, that play on the stream have this clock where they're at each table for an hour and then they move tables. So I got moved to like 5 different tables throughout the 6-hour session. So it was very fun, but I was always against new people. So it was like you couldn't develop reads, you couldn't do anything. It was just like madness. Anyway, the blinds are 2-3 in this first hand, raised to 15 in the hijack, button calls. I call the big blind with king, queen with the queen of diamonds. The flop comes king, jack, 7, all diamonds. It checks around to the button who bets 15. I call, the other guy folds, and we go heads up to the turn. Turn comes another jack, not a great card. I mean, you know, it's unlikely he has a jack, but it's not like a great card. It's hard to get a lot of value. I don't beat a flush. I don't beat trips. Is he really going to bet another king? Anyway, I check. He bets 20. At this point, of course, I'm not going anywhere. It's a small bet. I have top pair. I have a flush draw. I call. River comes a 6 of clubs. I check. Basically just hoping he checks behind. If he bets really big here, he's kind of representing hands that are better than mine, either trip jacks or a flush or a boat. He's not really betting huge here on this river with hands that are worse than mine for value. Fortunately for me, he bets 25. I call, of course, small bet. I'm gonna call. I pick off some bluffs. Maybe he's overplaying a hand. He has king 3 and I scoop myself a pot. Next hand comes along, I'm mixing it up, having fun, doing it for you guys at the vlog. I raise the button with 10-5 offsuit, don't try this at home, to $15. The small blind makes it 30. He's like really, he knows who I am, he's trying to go after me, he wants to play a pot with me. So I feel like he's doing this with any 2 cards, but other than the fact that I have a small, easy call here, I'm calling $15, so it's a min raise. I call, we go heads up to the flop. Flop comes ace, jack, 4, rainbow. He checks. At this point, I don't think he's gonna be folding to a bet. Typically when people re-raise and check the flop, they have something with showdown value. They don't have air, because if they had air, they would have just bet. So I don't take the bait, I check behind. Turn comes a 3, bringing a flush draw. He checks again. At this point, I'm like, all right, I have 10 high. I picked up a gut shot. I kind of have to fire, right? Like maybe he has air and he just folds. Maybe he has 7s and he just folds, please. Anyway, I bet 30, he calls. The river comes a deuce, the offsuit deuce. Super sick. He checks. I overbet now 150, because at this point, I'm like, all right, he called. He's playing his hand slow. He's probably not going to give me credit for a big hand. And he's like out to get me, right? Like he wants to play a big pot against me. So I'm kind of using that level to my advantage. I bet 150. He calls. Bingo. We got 2 in a row. Next hand kicks off. This one is sick. So limp out of the gun. Another limp. I make it 25 with 10s on the button. The big blind calls. The limper calls. The other limper makes it 105. I call and everybody else calls. So we have this crazy multi-way pot. I don't think my hand's great here, but I'm like not folding 10s. And if I hit a 10, I'm going to double up. And I'm like, whatever, we're going to go 4 ways. So I'm just kind of playing for set value. Anyway, of course, as it is with these games, the flop comes 10-9-5 with a flush draw, checks to the re-raiser. He bets 200. I just flat call, even though he only has like 160 behind, just because it looks kind of weak and donkey, and like if someone else behind me has a hand, they're gonna just call or stick it in, and I didn't want them to just fold. So anyway, everyone else folds. The turn comes a jack of hearts. He jams. Of course, at this point, I have a set. I call, he has kings, we run it twice. Here's what happens.
I'll go twice with you if you want.
Let's do it twice.
You go twice. All right, I have a good hand. I run so good in this small game. Holy shit. No flush.
No flush.
How much?
160.
I can never win with kings, bro. I swear to God.
162.
Oh, 162. Yeah, that's for you. Thank you.
All right, at this point, I'm just crushing life. Of course, in these small games, whenever you move down, you always win more. Does anybody else have that like sensation when like you play a game that's smaller, you run like God? Leave your thoughts in a comment below. Is this like some weird phenomenon? Is it just me? Let me know. While you're down there, smash that like button if you like this video as well. It really helps for the YouTube algorithm to get this out to more people. Subscribe as well if you haven't already. Let's dive into hand number 4. Limp, limp, I raise to 20. Big blind jams for 60. The first limper just cold calls. At this point, queen 10 offsuit, I got a call. So I call. The flop comes 9-8-6. With a flush draw, the limper checks. At this point, I'm double gutted. I don't want him to like see the run out with like ace jack or something like that. And if I, hit a pair, maybe I beat the other guy, but maybe would lose to this guy or whatever. So I just jam it in. I just kind of want to deny this guy equity in the hand and then go heads up against the guy who's all in, and maybe I hit a pair and win or hit a straight and win, whatever. So I jam like 200 or something like that. He folds, we run it out, and here's what happens.
You're going to see it regardless. That's the good thing.
Someone has a bigger hand.
No, you win.
King, I got a king high.
You win.
Fuck.
Straight.
So I lose to king 10, pretty unfortunate, but all right, we're off to the next hand. So 2 limpers, I complete in the small blind with 6s. The flop comes gin for me. I'm just crushing, running like amazing. 9-6-4 with a flush draw. I check it checks around to the last guy. The limper bets $15. At this point, I raise to 60. Here's what happens.
It's my main man's in the pot. Oh my goodness. I went for the case, but
In case you got a gut shot. In case you got a...
Folds back around to the button. He raises all in for 250. Of course, I have a set. I call. Let's run it out.
Okay, no, don't overthink it. Just go once. It's fine. Don't overthink it. All right. I got a good hand. I got a good hand.
All right, so I get moved to another table. I'm playing with Ryan Feldman, Blank Check Ben, Novocaine Poker, and others. The game's it's just bananas. People have like 3 or 4K on the table, running it up from 500. So the button straddles to 6. I'm in the small blind, and I just call with queens. Bunch of other callers, 3 other callers. The button raises 30 more. At this point, I'm like, all right, I got to re-raise here. He could be stealing with anything. I make it 110. Everybody else folds. He calls. Flop comes jack 6-4 with a flush draw. I have queens, not the suit on the board. And I bet 60 here. And my plan is just like bet small. I would do this with all of my hands. I'm going to be betting small with air. I'm going to be betting small with overpairs. It also kind of incentivizes him to raise or to call. And maybe he thinks I'm bluffing and he jams it in with a 6 or 7s or 8s or something like that and doesn't believe me. He wants to deny equity from what he thinks I have, which is like ace king. So he just calls. The turn comes a king of hearts. And at this point, he has about 200 behind. And so I'm thinking like, okay, does he really have a king here? He flat called me on the flop. It's hard to have a king in your hand, unless he has king jack or a king with the spades. But if he had the king with the spades, he probably would just jam the flop. So even though the king is an over card, it's a scare card, it's kind of a blank given the way the hand played out. So my thought is like, what's more likely? I jam and he calls with a worse hand, or I get to deny some equity. I get to force him to fold his draws, or I check and then he goes all in as a bluff. Come to think of it, in retrospect, I'd love to hear your thoughts in a comment below too. I probably should have checked and then let him go all in as a bluff or with like a weaker hand. But I just thought a lot of his bluffs would have raised the flop, so he probably has some like weak showdown hand, like 7s or a 6. I don't know, it's hard to get value from that whether I bet or I check. So I wasn't sure exactly. I'm kind of like rethinking it out loud here with you guys too. Anyway, I opted to jam, just force him out of the pot, force him to call, force him to, deny his equity if he has some sort of draw. He tanks for a while and folds, and I win a nice pot. Last hand, this one's crazy. So raise to 15 in mid position, call, Novocaine Poker calls the button. I call in the big blind with ace 8 of spades. The flop comes ace queen 3 with 2 hearts. Checks to the raiser, who bets 20. So kind of a small bet here, given that there's this many people in the hand. Goes call, call. I make it 100 just because I feel like the callers didn't really have much, and like my kicker's kind of decent on this board. Like I beat some weak aces, I beat queens, and I beat a lot of draws. And I don't want the turn to go 4 ways and then everyone checks around the turn and then everyone realizes their equity and like I just don't make the best hand that often on the river. So I make it 100, kind of just planning on navigating my way through the hand depending on what happens. If the original razor jams, okay, maybe I could fold. But if it goes fold, fold, I win. Or fold, call, maybe that person's on a draw and I have the best hand and they're drawing to like 9 outs with a flush draw or whatever. So anyway, I raise, fold, Novocaine poker calls the button. The turn comes an offsuit king. Here's what happens.
Only results matter. I'm scared.
I already know what you have. Go bet your set of threes. Bet your set of threes. Or Jack 10 of hearts. Set of threes. Bet your set of threes. Like it's like a hand that has either is locked it down or has significant equity with the pair.
Set of threes is good.
It's like Queen 10 of hearts for you to raise her. You like plays like a solid game. You know what I'm saying? You play a solid game. We raised you.
So I check and she checks, and the river comes another king. At this point, I'm like, all right, maybe, if she had a draw, she probably would have bet the turn. And so, like, maybe she has an ace, right? But all of our aces are chopping. The board's ace, king, queen, 3. So, like, even ace, queen is chopping. Not that she has that, but, like, ace, jack is chopping. But at the same time, like, I have a lot more stronger hands than she has. I could be, check raising the flop with jack 10 and then checking the turn to trap, or have like a king in my hand, like king, queen. I could have more strong hands than she has. So I could be check raising this flop with a set of 3s and then checking the turn to trap, or jack 10 or checking the turn to trap. Whereas I don't think she has that many of those hands. If she had those hands, she probably would have bet the turn. So when she checks the turn, it's a lot more likely she has like some weak showdown value hand, like an ace. So I just decided to jam here. I want to get an ace to fold, and I want to fold out a chop. And yeah, like my bluffs are basically hands that she's chopping with. So like she's either calling me to chop, or she's calling just, drawing dead if I have any of my value range. So I thought this was a really good spot to jam. I 2x the pot here, and I think this is just a really good spot to apply pressure. And I hope you took something away from this, because these interesting spots actually happen quite often in poker, and this is where like a big edge could be had. So like in this spot, the pot's $250 or something, I jam.
Am I gonna see it on your...
Miss Novocaine. How do you have a 7? This is not a good flop for a 7.
This is not a good flop for it.
I know, but I was betting. You were calling. What the fuck?
And so instead of me chopping, just going check on the river, or worse, me checking and then her jamming, and now I have to fold, I win a $250 pot instead of lose a $250 pot. And that, in this game, is pretty much a buy-in. It's a 2-3 game, so it's almost 100 big blinds for one single decision. So if you like this step-by-step process I use, you have to check out the CIPPS formula that we have at Conscious Poker. This exact strategy helped one of my clients, Yugal, go on to win $87,000 at the WSOP, getting a very deep run. We've also helped thousands of clients and students as well. It's at the link right up here, or go to consciouspoker.com and click on membership, or check out the link in the description. It's one of our best products, really confident it can help you take your game to that next level. Go check it out. All right, so that's it for this vlog. I hope you enjoyed this. I ended up winning 2,200 in this game, which is huge. It's like 8 buy-ins, right? That would be like me playing the Wednesday game that I play. You see me at my vlogs every week on this stream. That'd be like me winning like 80,000 or more in that game. So it's like, I'm grateful. I'm very happy I won. I'm always happy to win, because I know that at poker, there's variance and all that stuff. But it's like one of those sensations where it's a little bittersweet. Like, I'm very happy I won. Sure, it's $2,000. It's like, I'm always happy to win. But at the same time, like, I just think like, wow, if I ran this well or played this well in the Wednesday game, it would be 80K. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Leave your thoughts in the comment below. Follow Alec Torelli on social. Check out consciouspoker.com, and I will see you guys in the next episode.